As you guys probably know, I recently finished building a modern 9 circles level by the name of Reflections. Wait, 5 months ago? What the hell? Anyway, I put a lot of effort into the level and received tons of positive feedback, but it didn't get rated. Since I enjoyed making it so much, I decided I would make a sequel and really put my all into this one. Also, I want to clarify, this is not the deflections that I showcased on my channel. That one's dead. This is a completely different one, different gameplay, different song. However, I did still steal the name from this guy's comment, so I hope that makes up for it. Anyway, onto the building. Here I'll be using the song Divinity by Dead Rewind. I was going to try use a career song as well, but this one just had such a cool spacey vibe and it's really what I was going for, so I chose that instead. We're starting off with some cube gameplay, similar to the start of Reflections. However, all the click patterns are going to be faster. I want this to feel like Reflections, but the intensity is dialed up to the max. Here we have a short ship section where you straight fly through this club step monster, just like the original. And again, I love the style of ship structuring that uses the 45-degree angles like this. I think it's really neat. And then we have a short ball section. I'm just going to skip over it because it's literally like 3 clicks. Then the level speeds up into a dash orb and we enter the wave. I'm bringing in some UFO gameplay here as well. I really want to start mixing in elements of other levels like the hallucination, where we have a couple of game modes sprinkled in other than wave. Also, yes, I know this is diabolical, but I'm keeping it in. Here we've got a couple mini wave clicks and then we transition into a duel. I'm going to be keeping this very short since I'm terrible at asymmetrical duel gameplay. Now I have you go through these funky slopes to make it look like there's more going on than there actually is. And it's worth pointing out that I put a gravity portal here to make sure you go downwards. Then I did this cool thing where I made both players mini wave and the same gravity. And yeah, that's the end of the duel. I told you it was very short. Then I'm bringing back these structures because they're really cool and I like them. Now a good way to make consistent gameplay is to make you hold into a portal that's on a 45-degree angle, since it will always put you in the exact same position. Then I have a tiny bit of straight fly and I'm making use of some teleport portals. Now the way you click out of this portal feels like it should be weird, but it isn't for some reason. Maybe that's just me. And again, your gameplay will be consistent as long as you angle your portals correctly. Everyone should do this. If you didn't know, next to the rotate buttons, there's a snap button which will snap your rotation to any nearby objects. I think this is some of the best flowing gameplay I've ever made. It's just so nice. After that, I've got this ascending kind of click pattern, which is also really cool. Then I've got this little double click with the mini wave and an auto section. And we're ready to build the next part. This is going to pay tribute to the original section where I just spammed saw blades everywhere. I want to try expand on that concept by adding some teleporters and gravity changes in to mix it up. Also, I'm bringing in some of these spike pillars as well. I think this flows a lot better than the original and is cooler to watch, so I definitely succeeded here. Then a couple long clicks with the mini wave and another one of these structures. I don't know what I was thinking originally here, but here we've just got some consistent tapping and I decided to add this absolutely ridiculous gap just because I felt like it. Then I wanted something intense to finish it off, so I did what I do best and ripped off another level. Now for the ending here, I've just got some ship gameplay. I'm going to skip over this because I redid it 3 times. I've just got some pretty basic flowy gameplay that changes game modes a lot. I do like where you click into mini waves like this with a green orb or something. I think that's pretty cool. And just like the original, you fall down a staircase towards the final triple spike, except I spammed a bunch of teleporters and stuff to make it cool. There you go. I think a big reason the original didn't get rated is because it was like 45 seconds long, and this one also falls short of the standard 1 minute mark, but I have something up my sleeve for that. You'll have to wait and see. But right now, it's time to decorate. The first thing I'm going to do here is set up some very basic particles. Now, this trigger can seem very intimidating at first, but you only need a very basic understanding to really enhance your levels. I myself love using it with these cloud objects to make this nice mist. To start off the block designs, I've got these 1.9 connectors, and I've given them 4 color channels that pulse in time with the music. With some bright blending glow, these look really good. And I'm just using those same colors to make a spike design. Pretty much all my spike designs end up just being stacked in a bunch inside each other because it looks good and it's easy, so who cares. And I again use those colors and make this spinning glow thing, which I put on top of a saw with some extra details, and it looks pretty good. The number one tip for creating is just gotta be use blending glow. It makes things look so much nicer. Just to add some variation, I made this spike design as well, again using the 4 pulsing colors. Pretty much everything in this pre-drop is based off of those colors. Unfortunately, I don't have the footage of me doing this, but this is something I do in all my levels. Basically, I added a gradient trigger with a low opacity group and put it on top of the level. It's easy and it really helps add some atmosphere. And I added some of these weird pointy things on the ground as well. Small details like this go a long way, so don't be shy when adding them. And I made another block design out of some 1.9 connectors and some glow. I just realized I do pretty much the exact same orb decoration in all my levels. Just one of these black spinning things and some glow. But it looks good, so who cares? It was still looking a little empty, so I decided to try and make a space background. Now with all the 2.2 features, there's definitely a more efficient way to make stars, but I still couldn't figure out a better way to do this, so I'm just using thousands of little star objects. I put in some little spirals to try look like galaxies, and I added some space dust. Combined with the gradient trigger, I think this looks really good. Just to fill some space, I made some of these black hexagons with our pulsing colors behind them. These are simple, but they definitely add a lot. I now have all the building blocks I'll need to finish this part, so it's just up to copy pasting all the designs now. But naturally I got distracted and just messed around with the color grading instead. You gotta admit, this looks pretty cool though. Anyway, after changing it to be more subtle, I do think the color grading makes it look better, so I'll leave it in. But anyway, now it's actually time to copy paste the designs. Alright, after longer than I'd like to admit, it's finally time to start the ship part. This part's only like 3 seconds long, and I'm going to be reusing a lot of assets, so I'm skipping quickly over this. But there's a couple things worth mentioning. I'm decorating this club step monster with a lot of diagonal lines and some glow. Now I did steal this kind of from Vit 12, but don't tell anyone. Now I just made these diagonal structures with again the same 4 pulsing colors. This ball section literally does not matter because it's like 2 structures. So let's move on to the drop. We all know the classic 9 circles effect. Just have a bunch of layers and have them all pulse slightly one after the other. I like to make my layers out of different objects to add a bit more variation. And of course you gotta get that blending glow in there wherever you can. I swear, blending glow is like the MSG of the creating world. It just improves everything. Here's another layer with these 2.0 blocks. Then I added these 1.9 connectors, and using the pulsing colors that I already had, I made them all pulse in a chain like this. It's subtle, but I think it's cool. Now, things were looking a little bright, so I added some black glow on both edges of the screen and made it follow the player. Then I put some big black particles on top of the screen that move really fast. This adds intensity and creates a sense of speed. Here I made a very simple saw blade, just with one of these default saws, some spinning objects, and this animated object which I thought was pretty cool. Also some glow. After copy pasting my designs onto some of these other structures, I made this club step monster which I did not steal from earlier in the level. And then for about an hour I played Old Blade of Justice. Why is this footage here? So in the original Reflections, at the start of the drop there's this glow beam that goes across the screen, and I thought that was pretty cool, so I added it again here. I needed some more ear deco, but they say don't fix what isn't broken, so it's time for more hexagons. Here's this cool effect that I borrowed from Kulik, where I have 2 arrows and I have them move across the screen in different ways. It looks pretty sick, but I didn't like it here, so I move it to a different part later. I am reusing most of my designs for this dual section, but I made a couple new ones since the structuring's a bit weird here, just with some 1.9 objects, and I really like these pulsing circles here. I didn't find the footage for it, but for some extra ear decoration I just spammed arrows and music notes. As long as it fills space, it's fine. Now for this big diamond thing that you spam through, I just used the same designs as before, but made it darker on the part that you go through. It looks fine. And this is where I decided to put that arrow effect from before. I think it fits better because there's more space on the top and bottom of the screen for it to stand out. And now it's time to work on this guy. I don't know if these guys can count as club step monsters, but I'm not sure what else to call them, so whatever. Now I'm just detailing this guy with some low brightness 2.0 blocks and some glow. I made his eye extra bright because it looked cool. After copy pasting some designs, ear deco and sword blades, it's time to go on to the next part. Right, before this part begins there's a little auto section, so I'm just going to fill it up with some structures from the intro. As I mentioned before, this part is meant to represent the saw maze from Reflections, so I'm going to do the same thing here, but with a little more variation. I was stuck for ideas for a while here, but eventually I decided to build upon the rainstorm theme that I had going on, so I'm making some lightning strikes here. Basically I have a row of lightning objects all toggled off, and then I have them all toggle on in a sequence to make these cool flashes. Now I just have to turn these rows into lightning-y shapes and sprinkle them around the part. Now these are looking pretty good, so let's move on to a saw blade design. I pretty much just stacked a bunch of these spiral objects with our 4 pulsing colours as usual, and added some glow and called it a day. I also made these slightly more detailed variations on these spike pillars, again using our 4 pulsing colours. And here I just made a smaller variation on a sword blade design, not much to say here. This part was still feeling a little lacking, so to mimic the original I added some rain particles, actually using the particle trigger this time. You guys proud of me? I also added some more fog in the foreground, moving extra fast to fill some space. Nice and intense, but it's still missing something. I didn't really have any ideas to make this feel less empty, so I just tried one of my strategies of spamming invisible blocks, and it kinda worked. I'm okay with this. I just added some arrows and I think I could call this part done. Alright, these structures can just get pasted from earlier because I don't care about them and no one loves them. Anyway, like you might have guessed, this part also represents a part in Reflections, being this final wave with the nice designs and some white sprinkled in. This is the cool thing about making a sequel, I don't actually have to have any original ideas. Starting off with this saw blade, honestly it's very similar to all the other ones except it's brighter. Then I tried experimenting with some of these saw blades, and after layering them like this, I think it looks really cool. So yeah, experiment with your designs, you'll probably make something cool if you actually think outside the box. This design will be very similar to the ones at the start, but I'm going to make use of more right angles here. I wanted white outlines as well, so I just took one of the colours I already had and turned the saturation down. And you can't forget the blending glow. I also chucked on some black glow to give it more depth or something, I don't know. After adding some of these 1.9 connectors and of course some glow, I'm very happy with this design. I was feeling lazy here, so I just grabbed the same designs from before and chucked a saw blade on it. It looks good. And I just copied some more designs for the steeper slopes. This really wasn't that different because again I'm mostly using 90-degree angles here, so these came out pretty quickly. And now it's everyone's favourite part of building, copy paste time. I also took a quick detour to touch up the lightning effects in this part. I made the lightning jump between the saw blades and I think it looks cooler this way. I was really happy with how this was looking, but I was still stuck for ideas on how to make it look less empty, because these arrows weren't really doing it. But then I remembered, this is a sequel, so I can just copy exactly what I did in the original version and call it inspiration. So I've got some of these blocks pulsing in the background on low brightness and bam, it fills the space perfectly. Thank you, past me. I was gonna do something really cool for this last structure because it's like the final stretch, but I was feeling pretty demotivated at this point, so I just got lazy and did the same designs I already had. It still looks fine, but it could have been better. Like I said, motivation was pretty low at this point, so this last section is just gonna have the exact same designs as the first part. I know it's bad, but shut up. So the rest of this is just copy paste, but there is one thing that I hinted at the start which would get this level to the 1 minute mark. And you guys ever heard of Sonic Wave Infinity? You know that stupidly long end screen that's just way over the top? What if I put something like that in here to stretch the runtime? Now my one will obviously be a lot less cool and pretty much a Walmart version, but it'll get the job done. I'm starting off by hiding the player and keeping these smoke particles because they look cool. Then I've got this white text sliding in and the names will flicker on. Now it is just all gonna be my name because I'm the only guy who worked on this thing, but it's the thought that counts. After copy pasting that a few times, this really does look stupider than I thought it would, but I think that adds to it. Now I still needed to pad just a little more runtime, so I half-assed an end screen. It's just some white text with a glitch effect, man. But with the Walmart end screen now complete, the level is now fully decorated and over a minute long. I think I would call this done. This level took so much longer than I thought it would, but I'm so happy with the end result. I really hope it gets rated, man, because if this isn't rate worthy, I don't know what is. This is much harder than Reflections, but I will be verifying it myself. Without further ado, roll the showcase.